What's going on, guys? So, the Ironheart series has concluded, and in this video, I'll be going over each episode. Dominique Thorne returns as Riri Williams, the tech prodigy who has designed her own Iron Man suit. Now, she'll have to put her tech knowledge up against the magic-wielding Hood. So, let's get into it. Episode 1 starts off with Riri back in college at MIT, where she's in the midst of creating suits to shorten the response time for first responders, while also wanting to continue Tony Stark's legacy. All of a sudden, the dean expels her after finding out Riri's been selling completed assignments to students all over the area. So she takes her new suit and heads back to Chicago. Meanwhile, a group of thieves in jumpsuits are in the middle of a heist who are led by a guy named the Hood. He tells one of them to prepare for their next big job, and that they'll need to recruit somebody for it. Just then, Riri goes flying by in her suit. But the AI the suit's using shuts down because it belongs to MIT, so she crash lands on a street nearby. Riri returns home, and her mom's a little bit reluctant of her building the suits, but she's determined to continue. Then she runs off with her friend Xavier. Here, we find out that Riri's friend n.a.t.a.l.i.e, who's also Xavier's sister, was killed a while back along with Riri's stepdad. Sometime later, Riri goes to a junkyard to get parts to make a new suit, where she runs into the Hood's cousin, who then tries to recruit her. Needing money for her suit, she agrees and goes to meet with him. As she gets into the elevator to go to the warehouse, the elevator becomes stuck and gas starts pouring in. All of a sudden, the Hood comes over the intercom, Saw style, and asks her if she wants to play a game. No, he doesn't say that, but she does have to hack a device to get a gas mask out just in the nick of time. As it turns out, this is her interview. She finally gets out of the elevator and is greeted by the Hood, who wants her to come work for him. So she agrees. That night, as she's working on the suit, she's starting to have flashbacks of what happened to n.a.t.a.l.i.e and her stepdad. They were shot during a drive-by. As she's dreaming, her brain is synced to the suit, so the memories of n.a.t.a.l.i.e accidentally create a new AI, which ends up having her own likeness. In episode 2, Riri wants to undo the n.a.t.a.l.i.e AI because it reminds her too much of her friend. Meanwhile, the Hood's group is planning on a heist at n.a.t.a.l.i.e, a newly designed underground transportation system. At a meeting, the Hood introduces Riri to the rest of the team and goes over the plans to meet at n.a.t.a.l.i.e. So, she has to finish rebuilding her suit for the heist and needs parts. n.a.t.a.l.i.e finds her a black market dealer named Joe, who has just what she needs. So, she goes to meet with him, but he plays dumb about having the parts, and she has to blackmail Joe into helping her. He takes her to a bunker where he stores all of his parts, and Riri finally finishes the suit. Later that night, at n.a.t.a.l.i.e, as the team overpowers the security, Riri shows up with a flash drive that's equipped with a virus that will shut the tunnel down. But n.a.t.a.l.i.e suddenly appears in her suit and causes her to drop it. As that's going on, the Hood just appears in the car of one of n.a.t.a.l.i.'s owners, and he pretty much forces her to sign over the ownership. As they go to leave, Riri's almost detained by another guard, but the Hood shoots him. They then go back to the Hood's warehouse to celebrate, but Riri starts to question the Hood's true intentions. After that, Riri finally embraces n.a.t.a.l.i.e as her new AI. But the Hood seems to be hiding something, as strange black veins start to spread all over his body. His cousin John seems to be worried about it, but the Hood said it's the price to pay for whatever it is happening. Episode 3 starts off with the Hood's crew throwing around a bunch of money and talking about what they want to do with their share. All of a sudden, one of the group, Clown, walks out wearing the Hood's hood, and tells everyone that she hacked into his vault to get it. But just then, John attacks her and takes the Hood back. Riri tries to stand up to him, and the situation gets a little out of control. But after a while, they all cool down and talk about the next heist. This one taking place at a company called Heirloom. Riri pulls the Hood aside and asks him about the Hood, but he just vaguely says that it's magical, and then he shrugs it off. Later on, at Riri's house, Joe shows up and tells her to meet him at his place the following day to help with something. The next day, before going to Joe's, n.a.t.a.l.i.e wants Riri to take her to her stepdad's old shop to reminisce. But all that happens once they get there is that Riri gets PTSD of the night they both died. Back home, Riri finds out that Stuart Clark, the tech guy on the Hood's team that she replaced, was found dead. and she thinks that she may be next, so she decides to stop doing the heist. Later on, at Joe's house, Riri finds out that his real name is actually Ezekiel Stane, son of Obadiah Stane from the first Iron Man film. Zeke tells her that his dad died trying to kill Tony Stark and that he wants to be nothing like him. That night, the team meets up and heads to Heirloom. As the Hood talks with the head of Heirloom, Riri sneaks into the room, planning on stealing a piece of the Hood's hood to analyze it. As that's going on, the head of the company declines to sign the company over to the Hood, so his team catches the whole building on fire. But in doing so, they all get trapped inside. As the team tries to escape, the Hood kills the owner, but Riri manages to get a piece of his hood in the process. As n.a.t.a.l.i.e uses the Ironheart suit to save the team, John finds Riri with a piece of the hood and tries to kill her. But just in time, n.a.t.a.l.i.e brings the suit to Riri and saves her, leaving John to die. Back at his warehouse, the Hood denounces his dark influence, but then suddenly discovers that Riri was tied to John's death. Episode 4 starts with the Hood reminiscing about an old robbery he did with John at a mansion. Then the group sits around and they each share what they'll miss most about John. As this is going on, the Hood starts to hear voices as he stares at Riri. Later on, Riri's at home analyzing the piece of the Hood's hood that she got at Heirloom, when it suddenly disappears and then reappears. She discovers that it's giving off some kind of energy, but its origin is unknown. After that, Riri goes to visit Zeke to tell him about the Hood, but his house has been blocked off with police tape, and he's nowhere to be found. Just then, Riri finds out that Zeke was arrested after being linked to the heist that they've been doing. So she goes to visit him in prison, but he wants nothing to do with her. After that, Riri finds out that the Hood is growing suspicious of her, and she gets extremely paranoid, thinking that he's coming after her and her family. Later on, Riri and her mom go to visit her mom's friend Madeline, who just so happens to be a sorcerer that trained at n.a.t.a.l.i.e. Madeline's daughter Zelma tells them that the Hood is from the Dark Dimension, and that it's influencing whoever is wearing it. Then Riri takes the piece of the Hood to Zeke's underground lab and tries to destroy it, but nothing she does works. Meanwhile, the Hood breaks Zeke out of prison, and pretty much bribes him to work for him. As Zeke implants himself with new tech upgrades, the Hood tasks his team with going to kill Riri. Episode 5 begins with Slug from the Hood's crew stealing Riri's suit. Meanwhile, at a White Castle, Zelma tells Riri about Dormammu, the interdimensional being from the Dark Dimension who might be influencing the Hood. She also says that if that's the case, the only way to stop the Hood is to kill him, pretty much. But Riri wants to find another way. Just then, the siblings from the Hood's crew show up to confront Riri. After a brief fight, she traps them both inside a force field. Then, Clown shows up to help the siblings, but Riri takes her out with one of her own bombs. Out on the road, Slug tries to run Riri down with the van, but n.a.t.a.l.i.e breaks free and puts the suit back on Riri. All of a sudden, Zeke shows up, now with electronic implants, and fights Riri, shorting out her suit with no effort. But instead of killing her, Zeke just tells her to leave town. Sometime later, Riri tells her mom about everything that's been going on, and she agrees to help her fight against the Hood. So they finally go to her father's garage. n.a.t.a.l.i.e helps her finally come to terms with her and her father's death, something that's been weighing on her shoulders for years. As Riri builds a new suit, the Hood questions if Zeke actually even killed Riri, but Clown confirms that he did. After that, the whole crew pretty much call out the Hood and ask him if he's the one that killed Stewart. So he gets pissed and just fires the whole team. At this point, whatever's influencing the Hood is really starting to take him over. Then, he forces Zeke to help him break into a mansion, which is the same one from the flashback in the last episode. Once there, he confronts a guy who turns out to be the CEO over every single company that they've been robbing so far. The Hood's plan is to forcibly take control of all the companies. Then, it's suddenly revealed that the CEO is actually the Hood's father, and he's only doing this to get revenge on him because the father never wanted him and sent him away when he was only 12. So, the Hood kicks his dad out of his own house and takes over, just as the dark influence only gets worse. Back in the garage, Riri finally finishes her new suit, and Zelma binds it with magic. But the magic is too much for it and overrides the suit, erasing n.a.t.a.l.i.e by accident. The finale starts off with the flashback of the heist at the Hood's father's mansion. As the Hood runs from the house, he's pursued by his father's security. Just as he's about to get cornered, a hooded figure approaches him and tells him to walk through a door. All of a sudden, he finds himself in a pizza shop, and the guy's telling the Hood that he hasn't reached his full potential yet. He asks him what it is that he truly wants, and the Hood says to be richer than his father. So the guy gives him his hood, which will give him the power to achieve whatever it is he wants. Back in present time, the Hood and Zeke are at the mansion when Zeke suddenly tries to kill him. But the Hood is in control of all the tech inside Zeke's body, so he can't. He pretty much makes him his puppet. Sometime later, Riri shows up to the warehouse to confront the Hood, but runs back into Zeke. He says he doesn't want to fight Riri, but he has to against his will. So, Riri kicks him in the nuts, and it ends up rebooting all of his tech, allowing him to once again be in control. After this, she finally confronts the Hood. He tries to disappear, but Riri uses magic to bring him back, and then a huge fight ensues. As they fight, the Hood starts becoming more and more animalistic, almost like a werewolf or something, and he nearly destroys Riri's suit. So, she uses a last resort and blows the suit up, which nearly kills both of them. As Riri struggles to get to her feet, the Hood just shoots her with a gun. But it's revealed that the Riri he's seeing is just a hologram, and she appears behind him, ripping the Hood off his body. When Riri goes to leave the warehouse, she suddenly finds herself in the pizza shop with that same guy. As they get to talking, he tells her that he's been watching her for quite a while now. And just then, he reveals himself to be Mephisto. That's right, we finally have Mephisto after all this time. He asks Riri what it is she truly wants, and she starts thinking about n.a.t.a.l.i.e. So she makes a deal with him, and n.a.t.a.l.i.e. finally becomes real. In a mid-credits scene, the Hood walks into Zelma's shop and asks to get help with some real magic. The end. Well, that was Ironheart. I wasn't really sure about the Hood as a villain, but with Mephisto pulling the strings, it was pretty cool. We finally got Sacha Baron Cohen as Mephisto in the MCU. It's canon. It only took, like 4 years? Anyway, Dominique Thorne was also great as Riri. I look forward to seeing her in Season 2, or whatever it is she appears in next. Her friend Natalie as her AI was kinda weird though, but the backstory of what happened to her was sad. And the introduction of Stain's son, Zeke, was pretty cool. His cyborg implants were right out of the comics. That final scene with Hood and Zelma also set up Strange Academy, a series that Disney was working on a while back, where a bunch of people, including America Chavez, learn the mystic arts at Camartage. So we'll have to wait and see if that's a thing. Anyway, that was Ironheart. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.